In this presentation, we are going to look at migrating an application library from an IBM I server to the MCS Infinite. The presentation is broken down into 3 stages. The first stage is on the IBM I and demonstrates what's required to prepare an application library for migration. The second part of the demonstration is restoring and migrating the application into the MCS Infinite environment. The third and final step, which is optional, is then the onward migration of the data from the internal database representation to an external one. Today we will be demonstrating Oracle. We are going to look at how to prepare an application for migration to MCS Infinite. This breaks down into 3 steps. But before we look at preparation, let's have a look at our application, just to get a feel for what we are transferring. The application we are moving is called Dynamic. It's contained in an application library, also called Dynamic. We will call one of the programs in the library, just to get a feel for what it looks like. It's a typical looking IBM I application. 5 options, and you can take any of the options by typing in the number and pressing enter. As an example, if we look at the second entry on the customer list, we press 2 and then enter. The customer list is shown and they're sorted in alphabetical company name order. We can do the usual things like paging down and paging up, and we can take option 1 beside a customer and press enter, and the customer detail appears for review or maintenance as needed. You can tab through the different fields and make your changes as necessary. So if we come out of there, and we have a look at the application library. There it is. And it has the typical things inside. We've got compiled CLs, and we've got compiled RPG programs. We've got physical files, logical files, queries, and so on. A fairly standard looking IBM I application. And now we're going to do the 3 steps that are involved in preparation for migrating the dynamic library to MCS Infinite. The first step is to create a library that we are going to call Library to Infinite. I could just press enter here, that would create the library. We can press Command 4 to get the prompt, and if you wish, then you can type in a description. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, the library has been created. Step 2 is to create a save file. We'll take the prompts again on this one. And we'll call the save file the same name as our application library. So we'll call it Dynamic. And we're going to place it into the To Infinite library. Again, you can give it a description if you wish. Simply press enter. The save file is created. The third and final step is to save your library. Again, we'll use prompting. The library we're going to save is our dynamic library. And we're going to place it into the save file that we've just created. If we press enter, our save file has the same name as the library. And it's in the To Infinite library. Press enter, and, as you can see, at the bottom of the screen, 30 objects have been saved from Library Dynamic into our save file. If you wish, you can have a look at the contents of the save file. You can type of command directly on the command line, but I'll take the prompts. Our save file is called Dynamic and it's in To Infinite library. There you go. There's the contents of your save file ready for transfer to MCS Infinite. If you have more than one application library that you wish to migrate, then simply repeat steps 2 and 3. Create a save file and then save the library into the save file. Repeat for each of the libraries that you wish to migrate. We're now going to look at migrating the application to MCS Infinite. The screen you're looking at is a Windows server. It has a connection to the Linux server that has the MCS Infinite instance installed. The save file that was created on the IBM I has now been loaded onto the Linux server. If you remember that the save file was called dynamic, we see it listed here. The path to the save file is /u01/savefs. Let's go and restore our application. This is the sign-on screen for MCS Infinite. And the first thing you'll notice is how similar it appears to the IBM I sign-on screen. If we put in our user ID and password and sign on, we will see the main menu. All of the application tools related to migration are contained in menu marked Application Migration. So let's go and have a look at it. This menu has everything that's required for the migration. And the first thing we're going to do is to restore our application from the save file. Option 10 performs that operation. And if we enter it, the device is a save file. Interim library is a library created by the migration tool that will contain details of all of the items that need to be recompiled. So, for example, your RPG and COBOL programs, your physical files, your logical files, and everything that needs to be recompiled. Details will be held within this interim library and used by the migration tool. You can give this library any name you wish, but for the purposes of this demonstration, we'll call it TMP1. If you remember, the path to our file is u01savefs and then the name of the save file. And that's all that we need to enter on the screen. Press Enter. The application library will be restored from within the save file. It happens very quickly. You will see progress at the bottom of the screen. That's it. It's very fast. And this screen is prompting us. Typically in migrations, there are multiple libraries that need to be restored. So rather than having to go out of this program and come back in, this option is allowing you to enter the path for the next save file, if there happen to be another one. In our example, we only have the one, so we're going to say *n for no, but this option can be repeated as many times as is required for the number of libraries that need to be restored. So you'll notice at the bottom of the screen the library dynamic has been created. And if we have a look at our library, you'll see we've got our CL sources, our DDS sources, RPG sources. We've got job descriptions, message files, data areas, output queues, and query definitions. What we don't have is our compiled programs. There are no RPG or COBOL programs, and there are no physical or logical files. The reason for that is that those items need to be recompiled. So details of those items will be held in our interim library. We're now going to perform the second stage of the migration. The second stage is performed from option 72. Run BIF, or otherwise known as execute build instructions. If we go into this option, it's looking for our interim library. If you remember, the interim library holds details of all the items that need to be recompiled. You can specify that you only wish to recompile physical files, logical files, or any component of the migration. But we just leave it a star all to do everything. Our default object library is required for items where there is a source, but in the save file that we have been given, there is no matching object. So therefore, the migration tool does not know where to place the compiled object. This parameter allows you to specify where you wish to put that object. So you can specify a specific library, or you can type in *sourcelib, which is what we will do today. That means that all sources that compile and generate an object, where the save file didn't have a matching object, we will place the object in the same library as the source file. So that's what we need to enter here. That's all of the parameters required. And when I press enter again, if you watch the bottom of the screen, you'll see the progress being made by the migration tool. So it's working its way through all of the programs fairly quickly. And that's the migration complete. If we go again, look at our dynamic library, we've now got CL programs, we've got RPG and ILE programs, we've got physical and logical files, and we can even go and look at one of our logical or one of our physical files. So there's all the data held in the file. Again, the appearance is very similar to what you would see on an IBM iServer. That is essentially the migration complete, and if we add the library to our library list, we can call up a program. The appearance is identical to how it looked on the IBM i, and you can take any of the options again. We will take option 2 for customer list. Here are our customers, and we have the same options as before. We can page down, we can page up. We can place one beside any of the customers and press enter to see the details held against that customer. We can tab through the fields and make whatever changes are necessary. So that is the migration complete, and your dynamic library is now operational within the MCS Infinite environment. If problems are identified in a migration, then further details of the elements of the migration can be looked at from within option 70. Edit build instructions. If we enter our interim library name TMP1 and press enter, these are the different headings for the different objects within an application library. The cursor is sitting beside physical files, and if I press enter, it will show you the physical files. The column of interest here is the status on the left. In the case of the physical files, it's been a very successful migration. C here stands for complete, the migration has been completed successfully. So all of our physical files have migrated correctly and successfully. If, however, we have a look at our CL programs, things don't look so good. Our status is that we've got 1 completion, and we've got 4 failures. However, one of the attractive features of this particular program is that we can place our cursor beside any of the members and take option 9. And option 9 allows you to view the compiler listing related to this member. So rather than having to hunt around in the print queues to find the compiled listing for this program, it's very straightforward to find it, and we can quickly analyze what the problem is. Taking this case here, our first problem is that we have a missing library CSPIINV. We can go looking for that library, or look for a workaround for that problem. So this particular option enables quick analysis of any problems that are identified within the migration. Our application is now fully migrated from an IBM I to MCS Infinite. We are now going to look at migrating data from within MCS Infinite internal database to an external SQL database. Today, we're looking at Oracle. On the screen, you've got the welcome page for Oracle. And you'll notice on the left-hand side that there are currently no tables or views. If we do a refresh, there's still no tables or views. So let's go to our MCS Infinite platform. And let's migrate some data. Within MCS Infinite, there's a command called Work SQL Table, and if we take that option and specify that we want to see all of the files in our dynamic library, and press Enter, up comes a list of all of our physical and logical files. And if we press Command 11, we get a different view. And over on the right-hand side, we've got a column here, SQL. And what that is saying at the moment as it's blank is that these files are currently residing within MCS Infinite internal database. When we migrate these files to an external database, today it's Oracle, then there will be a Y placed in this column to show that the data has been onward migrated to an external SQL database. So let's migrate our files. We'll just put a 1 beside all of them and press Enter, and the data and all of the data definitions are now being migrated. If I do a refresh, then we've now got a Y against SQL column for all of the files. If we return to Oracle and do a refresh on our tables and views, we've now got all of our physical files under tables, and we've got our logical file under views. If we look at our customer master, for example, there's your file definition, your DDS if you like. We can even see the data, so there's the data from the customer master file. And we can even execute SQL commands. For example, if we execute this first line, it's purely to list everything in the customer master file. And if we sign in, up comes all of our data. I'm just going to highlight customer number 5555. And you'll notice that it's called XLE Trucks. This next SQL command at the top is going to look for customer with code 5555, which is our XLE Trucks. It's going to change the company name to ABC123 Company. So if I highlight that and execute it, and then just execute our select again, we see now that customer 5555 has a company name of ABC123 Company. The data in the customer master file has been updated from within Oracle, and if we go back to MCS Infinite and call up our customer master details, the second customer down is ABC123 Company. And indeed, now if we even wanted to maintain within MCS Infinite, we could change ABC to XYZ at 999 and press Enter to save the change. If we now go back to Oracle again and execute this command again to refresh our data, you'll see that customer code 5555 is now called XYZ999 as it was updated from within MCS Infinite. So this data is now accessible directly from within Oracle or from within MCS Infinite. So we've seen how the data from within MCS Infinite can be migrated on to an external SQL database. Today we saw Oracle. This opens up the possibility of using programming languages such as Java, C#, or Python, or in the newer languages such as Node or React. The programming resources for these languages is much greater than for RPG or COBOL, and therefore much more cost-effective. That ends our presentation. Thank you.